WCLN 1170 Radio and Star Communications Channel 16 proudly present the We Should Know Show, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative. Now, here's your host, JW Simmons, as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on there. I'm JW Simmons, your host. Thank you for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you each and every week. Hope you do us as well. This week, we're talking about law enforcement appreciation. And our guest today is Assistant Chief of Police for the City of Clinton, Adrian Mathews. Adrian, I was for some reason thinking that you'd been on the show before, and we were talking before we got on air. This is your first time on the show.
This is my first time. Thank you for having me.
For being here. And also, thank you for what you do. And we want to talk about that appreciation piece. But I want to bring to folks' attention a little bit about your background. You have served with the North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles as a law enforcement agent for that agency. You've also been a sergeant with the police department. You've been a detective with the police department. You've served as a lieutenant with the police department. And now you're the Assistant Chief of Police. Your journey and your legacy in law enforcement is quite interesting in the fact that this, for our conversation today, gives you a broad scope of understanding what law enforcement officers do, what the expectations are. And I want to get into that, but as we get there, I want to kind of bring people's attention to what January 9th was. And that was the day that was set aside nationally to just pause for a minute and recognize the reality of the essential work law enforcement officers does on a daily basis. It was also set into place by many people to just stop for a moment and take a breath and recognize that thin blue line that exists and the reason for that. Now, for me, I think we need to do that every day. So today I want to talk about some of the things that you have experienced in your career, some of the things that you have experienced as a police officer on the streets of a small town here in North Carolina, which represents the majority of the law enforcement officers in the state, and look at it from the broad range so the public can better understand law enforcement from your eyes and the law enforcement of what expectations is that they should have about what you can maybe and can't do. So that's kind of where I'm headed with this conversation. So I'm going to open the door and I'm going to say, okay, tell us a bit about your career. I know you also academically got a Bachelor of Science degree as well. Tell us a little bit about your career. How and why did you get into this area of something called law enforcement?
I grew up in Fayetteville, right down the road, and I went to Fayetteville State University, and I had the opportunity to intern with the Fayetteville Police Department, and that's kind of what sparked my interest in law enforcement. We were on the All-American Freeway, and Sergeant Durham, well, he was Officer Durham at the time. I think he's a sergeant now. Cut the blue lights on, and it had me hooked. From there, I went to basic law enforcement training right here at Sampson Community College in Clinton and started my career in law enforcement. Mike Brim, who was our former chief of police, gave me the opportunity to be a law enforcement officer with the Clinton Police Department, and I started my career in 2008. It was very unique coming from Fayetteville, which is a lot bigger than Clinton, but small town. Everyone is very friendly and everyone knows each other, which helps and hurts sometimes, more helping than hurting. Never really had any issues with, the citizens of Clinton being very welcoming and appreciative of law enforcement. And that still reigns true today.
It's interesting with your background is that you have had some experience with that I always look at Fayetteville as like a metropolitan area. It's just that it's that huge panacea that some of my friends over there will say to me sometimes that we'll probably end up someday annexing part of Sampson County because it's growing that fast.
It's growing extremely fast. It seems to be growing more to, I guess, maybe western up into Hornet County. Mm-hmm. But I really didn't appreciate what the city of Clinton and the Clinton Police Department gave me until 2016, and I went to work with North Carolina DMV License and Theft Bureau as a law enforcement agent with them. From there, I began to really realize that Clinton set a tremendous foundation in my law enforcement career and gave me the skills and opportunities to excel in that field. I was actually assigned to Cumberland County, and the foundation that was set here in Clinton and the opportunities that I had led me to excel even further in Cumberland County, and made me really appreciate the city of Clinton. Everyone here, not to say that citizens in Cumberland County or the Fayetteville area are bad or anything like that. It's just, to me, the citizens of Clinton and Sampson County are a lot more welcoming. And the way of life here is, to me, is what I respond to a little bit better.
It's interesting you mentioned that because there was an article I was reading that one of the things that small towns attract people with is that sense of identity, that you actually know people.
Yes.
You see people. Sometimes you'll see someone and you won't really, maybe you don't remember their name, but you've seen them in the grocery store before, or they've crossed paths with you at work before, and you know that they have some relationship in some way, so they become part of your circle of identity, so to speak.
Yes. Just one kind of anecdotal thing that I can speak to is Clinton only has one Walmart, right? So every time I go to Walmart here in Clinton, you run into someone you may not have seen in a while. Hey, what's going on? Whereas Fayetteville has multiple Walmarts, and, you just don't get that connection that you get here. I could go to Walmart or to the McDonald's or Sampson Crossing, anywhere over there, and spend about 45 minutes talking to various people, mm-hmm. just walking in and out of the parking lot.
Absolutely. So. Is it important in today's world for law enforcement officers? And I know I think the last time I remember is a little over 600 hours of basic training that was required. That's something I used to do when I was with the college. I had oversight of that program, and I always thought about it. There was somebody would come into the class, and I would think, I'm just hoping your personality adjusts to the demands of the law enforcement officer. Has that changed over the years, the demands that an officer's personality has to be somewhat effective in the sense of getting along with a diverse population?
I would say yes. As the nation changes, as North Carolina changes, and the different municipalities or the state agencies that an officer goes through after going to basic law enforcement training definitely requires a different skill set than before. There's different issues and different things now that maybe in your generation you didn't have to deal with. Even in my generation, that I didn't have to deal with, that the officer right now on the street is going to have to deal with and have to relate to different people and different things. Societal norms have definitely shifted, and when officers encounter those different societal norms, they have to be more open-minded and willing to adjust sometimes on the fly to handle those various situations.
It's interesting you mentioned that when you started with the police department that Mike Brim was the police chief. Anecdotally, he was actually one of the first people that I had on this show and interviewed was the police chief. And the reason for that is interesting, because to just let you know is that he's a very educated person, and we sat and had a conversation, and at that time we were doing it just from the radio station. But the reality is the only main reason I selected him had nothing to do with anything other than, well, I thought I knew a little bit about that profession and it would be a comfortable conversation. So he was that kind of person, outgoing, willing to talk to folks. I don't know what he would be like as a boss, but he seemed to be very open and
very, very open. You know, my view of Chief Brim may be skewed. He did give me my first job, and he was always honest and fair with me. You know, as I've rose through the ranks, I kind of understand about, you know, sometimes everyone's not going to like the decisions you make, but those decisions have to be made. So yeah, I have nothing but respect for Chief Brim.
Going through that thing, I want to get into, we're going to take a break in about a minute here, but I want to get into that a little bit, just as the things that you experienced and learned as you moved through the ranks of the organization, and go back to Chief Mike Brim. Things you learned there, but as you move from like detective to sergeant to lieutenant to the interactions there, and now as part of the command staff, assistant to the police chief here, what has changed in your view and observation? Because you have to look at it now from a whole different perspective as opposed to being focused in one particular area.
So, you know, as an officer starts his journey in law enforcement, you know, you come out, most of the things that I worried about then were, you know, making sure I did reports, correctly, and answered calls along with officer safety stuff. And then, from there as a detective, you're, being a little more involved with victims and, making sure that, you know, justice is, served properly. You're dealing with, the assistant district attorneys, the district attorneys more people are focused, are looking at what you're doing as far as citizens being concerned and making sure that their loved ones or themselves are getting the justice that they deserve. And then from there, Clinton is a smaller agency, so you get to definitely talk about
we're going to take a quick break.
Yes, sir.
And we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking about the role of the law enforcement officer today. We're talking about appreciation of law enforcement officers in our community. We'll be back in a moment.
Computer viruses, malware, and ransomware are out there. They're dangerous, and they can steal your identity and damage your equipment. Star Communications is now offering Protect IQ. The service adds an extra layer of protection to every device connected to your network, working quietly in the background. Star can help you protect yourself from the inside out with Protect IQ. Call Star today and take advantage of this free service when you sign up for whole home Wi-Fi with Star Communications.
How can your friend save you money? It's easy. Refer a relative, coworker, neighbor, or friend to Star Communications. Friend signs up for high-speed internet service. Friend's new account is confirmed. Friend gives your name to our service representative as the one who referred them to Star. You receive a $30 internet credit. It's just that simple. And even better, receive a $30 internet credit for every referral that results in a new confirmed account. High-speed internet from Star Communications. Refer a friend today.
Welcome to Cork and Brew Roseboro, where you can enjoy your favorite coffee, fraps, smoothies, bakery items, sandwiches, and select beer and wines while reconnecting with friends and family. Sit down and enjoy the experience. Come on by and give us a try.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know It's on there. JW Simmons here, your host. We're talking with Adrian Mathews, the assistant to the police chief in the city of Clinton. Adrian, you were going through our dialogue. We were talking a bit about your journey in law enforcement, and as you went through these various roles we talked about, from detective to being law enforcement agent on the state level with North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles, to being a lieutenant, to moving right on up the ranks, should I say, in the law enforcement circle now, to being in that next to the chief kind of thing, in the organizational flow here. Things that you learned and changes you had to adapt to. So I'm going to turn that back over to you.
Yeah. So, during my law enforcement career, I started here in Clinton and, had the opportunity to be a patrol officer. I guess where I learned a bulk of my experience, come from is being a detective. At that time, Chief Brim, he retired and we got a new chief, Chief, Jay Tilley, who brought a vast experience and, knowledge, being a former, SBI agent and a supervisor with them, and, really, led the department into the next phases. I would say almost the 21st century, not to take anything away from Chief Brim, but during my tenure, Jay Tilley, really took the department to those different levels.
Jay was a factual kind of person. He was that SBI investigatory thing. You picked up right quick on the fact that he wanted everything organized and he wanted, that little analytical piece. He was strong in that area.
Yes. And those things helped me tremendously, moving forward throughout my career. So, being a detective under, Chief Tilley's, leadership, really fine-tuned things. And what I really enjoyed about, Chief Tilley was that he let, the supervisors and leaders under him, really shape and go out there and do what, needed to get done. So, with investigations, with training, gave opportunities to learn about accreditation and not only work in accreditation. So whatever you wanted to do, and wanted to try, he was willing to let you do.
You had that latitude.
Yes, sir. And from there, I spent a probably good amount of time, as a detective working, different things. He formed, what used to be called our neighborhood improvement team, where you tried to find the root causes of some issues. So if, street lights were out and people were hanging, around and you didn't have, good lighting, we would go out and we would talk to, different citizens around town, find out different causes. Maybe that's a reason that, people are hanging out or maybe doing some illegal activities over there. So we would put them in contact with, Public Works, get those lights fixed. Or if their trash wasn't kind of being taken out and it was causing, the neighborhood not to look as well. We do that. We did a pretty, large campaign, throughout the city with, nuisance vehicles, which I think helped out tremendously, with different people maybe, hiding different narcotics in abandoned vehicles and kind of, not being next to them, but getting those out the way so they couldn't, do that no longer.
Things the average person would not think about.
Yes, sir. So that definitely helped, not only taking us, through our accreditation and reaccreditations. He was one that, implemented body worn cameras. The city of Clinton was, I would say, has always been on the cutting edge of technology. We had those, I think, in 2012, some of the first kind of prototypes before. And then we were, I don't know exactly, but we were one of the first agencies our size to have the WatchGuard body cameras. Many agencies had the in-car cameras, but we were one of the first.
That gets back to what you just described, gets back to what we're recognizing now, the importance of transparency.
Yes, sir.
And being part of that evolution in leadership to make that happen had to be kind of a huge step. But did you hear from citizens with that? How did the officers approach when you started talking about that? Did you get any resistance?
So anytime there is massive change, there is going to be some resistance. It's the unknown that people are scared on both sides, officers and citizens. Do they record, during these intimate moments when, we come in and they're a victim? Is it Big Brother just watching everything an officer does? So there was, apprehension on, I think, both sides. But ultimately, once, it was implemented, it's been a positive, very positive thing on both sides.
Looking at this is over a decade now, and you've been involved in that of cameras. Looking at it from that perspective and experience, if you had to rate and say, if I had a choice, we wouldn't do it, but now that we've got them, we would keep them. What are some of the pros and cons as it relates to cameras? I guess what I'm trying to get to here is there's been some discussion over the past few years about not only the information you see, but the angle of cameras, as it were, to be given factual information as opposed to getting this angle. You might see something from another camera angle. Just kind of talk about that in a little bit more detail.
So the positives of body cameras are that it is a factual representation of what happened face to face.
What that camera sees.
Right? So when the officer comes up and says, "Hello, my name is Officer Adrian Mathews. How are you?" And a citizen says, he was rude. Immediately we can watch the video, hear his tone. We can't see his face, but hear his tone and how he approached the situation. And that can happen almost instantaneously. One of the negatives about it is that when you get a new piece of technology and it's been 10 years, citizens' mindset changes on what is expected of that piece of equipment. I'll give you an example. The angles. So they think the body camera is angled as much as the eye sees, where, in my peripheral, I can see different things where my body camera might not be able to see. And it's hard to explain that to citizens during, certain incidents that may have been captured on body camera. They're going to say, well, why didn't it catch that angle and it caught this angle? Are you hiding something? So those are the negatives.
And even more so sometimes in court to the defense attorney, the prosecutor has a huge time making sure they understand, that just because of what they saw, you're seeing something out of your peripheral that caused you to react as you did that was not seen on that camera.
Yes. And I always will go back to this. You can have a perfect piece of technology, but there's always going to be human error. Now, as technology has evolved, we try to mitigate that human error, like our body worn cameras. As soon as an officer activates his blue lights, it cuts not only the in-car camera on, but it cuts his body-worn camera on. So if the proximity to that, but again, we're dealing with technology. I don't know if the officer may have dropped the body camera prior to shift and, it's working, the red light's coming on, but that Bluetooth functionality where it's connecting to the in-car camera and cutting on, doesn't work anymore. So he may cut the lights on and, a split second he jumps out the car, has to take action doing something, and that body worn camera is not cut on when it should. That is one of the things we have a hard time explaining. Well, yeah, we have the technology, but it just didn't get it this time. And Murphy's Law says that, when it goes wrong, it goes wrong. So, but luckily we'll have the in-car camera, but it might not be it might be just out of angle for people to see the incident.
Is camera technology and visual technology, as it increases, going to be a huge savings as it relates to personnel, as it relates to, as you used to do, investigating as a detective crimes? Is that going to be a continued growing field? I've even read articles where drone technology is going to be implemented and deployed in such a way that it'll be an officer responds to a crime scene, automatically a drone is deployed from the vehicle to cover visual above.
I definitely think that, that's where we're probably headed. We've gotten a couple of drones and we've used them in certain situations that have been very beneficial to the police department, and not in the way that most people might think. What I really appreciate about drone technology is missing persons, missing children that may have gotten lost. Sampson County is a rural area, a rural county. And, we have a lot of farmland, trees, different things like that. Kid goes missing at night. You can put a drone up with thermal imaging and locate missing children, elderly, things like that. We're going to take a quick break. I want to come back and pick up on that because technology, as it continues to advance, will also have a continued impact. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. And we're trying to not only educate everyone, but trying to inform everyone about law enforcement and the appreciation we have for law enforcement.
At Fisher's, it's not just about fashion. It's about exceptional service. Experience top-notch customer care and find your perfect look. Visit Fisher's today and feel the difference.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
The average American household has 17 devices connected to the internet. With more and more devices able to get online, you may need to increase your internet speed. Call Star Communications today and let us help you select the package that's right for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know's on there. JW Simmons here, your host. We're talking with the Assistant Chief of Police in the City of Clinton, Adrian Mathews. Adrian, thank you for coming in today. We started our conversation today with the whole Law Enforcement Appreciation Day event here in January, which was January 9th. So we're a little bit behind the curve, but I still felt it important for us to have this conversation and just pause and say, wait a minute, let's just talk about some of the things going on in law enforcement. And you're the ideal person to look at change over time as you dated your experience back to Fayetteville Police Department, as you talked about Mike Brim, Jay Tilley, and some of those folks and their contribution. And now you sit on the precipice of even newer and expanding technology with cameras, with drones, with what they see, with not only the accuracy and visual ability, but the ability to be able to associate that with evidential chain of things that's happening. I want you to pick it up from there because you were talking a bit about some of the new technology and drone capability in law enforcement.
Yeah, so we have a couple of drones at the Clinton Police Department, and they have been an excellent use of technology, especially for finding missing persons. I think that is one of the biggest and most positive impacts of our drones capabilities. When, you have an elderly person, maybe with dementia or something like that, and the family calls and they're in a panic, and to be able to deploy the drone and cover a vast area relatively quickly helps tremendously, and being able to return that person to their family.
Can these drones pick up the heat sensitivity thing?
Yes, they can pick up, there's thermal imaging on the drones, and they can pick that up. There's night vision on them. So they can do a wide range of things. They have spotlights on them. They also have two-way loudspeakers on them. Whatever you can afford, the drone you can get.
You can add that to the package if you wanted to. So talk to us a bit about what you think about and the importance of camera capabilities such as flock, which is license plate readers and those kinds of things. That seems to be something that can contribute greatly to not only safety, security, but also with giving you factual evidence as it relates to vehicles and, where they were going, that kind of thing.
So one of the things with flock cameras are an excellent tool for investigative purposes, like going back to missing persons. We have a elderly population here in Clinton. And one of the things with flock is when there's a silver alert or something like that, being able to know that license plate came into your jurisdiction or left your jurisdiction, and being able to combine those resources and utilize those tools can help. Now, one of the, I won't say downsides to it is that we fight against people's right to privacy versus, investigative tools. So it's a balancing act where maybe some people don't want their license plate read on flock cameras.
But typically isn't that the license plate reader itself, it just reads license plates. I mean, it doesn't, you couldn't use that to say, well, unless there was a crime involved and that was a suspect, your car was on this street between the times, this time and this time of which the quote murder occurred. That was something the only time that you could use that, correct?
Correct. And there's rules and when the data has to actually be, discarded, purged in so many days on that. But there are people in America that feel like the government should not be keeping that data or, retrieving that data.
The beauty for me, and when I'm looking at flock, and I'm not trying to be an advocate here. I don't have any stock in flock, but the reality is from a law enforcement perspective and for the citizen perspective, these cameras can often pick up on folks that are being looked at, as you said, that has dementia, but also at the same time, if it's a felony that has occurred, maybe a murder somewhere, this vehicle's trying to locate it. If it's in Raleigh or if it's in another state, if it pops up on the flock system, it can all of a sudden say this vehicle so-and-so time was here. And you as a detective at that time could also say, well, wait a minute, I'm looking at that because somebody abducted a child, or it's a human trafficking situation. I mean, I think those things are critically important.
I also share that same sentiment about those things being critically important. But I always have to realize that I'm a law enforcement officer, and
we got a slanted view.
What's important to me might not be important to someone else. And I understand that. I see more positives than negatives with that. It's hard to speak to some of the victims when their family members are missing, and the layman person doesn't have to deal with that. So right. I will say the flock cameras and technology is tremendously more helpful than it could ever be used harmfully. But I do understand why some people might feel negatively towards that.
So I'm going to step it up a little bit more for technology. Okay. I'm going to go into the whole area of facial recognition now. We know that now that's being used, as I understand, in most of the airports now with the TSA, transportation safety folks, as a piece of technology they can use to help recognize persons that may be foreign actors or people that may have had problems in the past in the transportation industry. Is there a time in the future that Adrian is on the planet 10 years from now? Do you see that may be deployed in some way, that piece of technology for the advancement of investigation and for technology to help prevent crime?
Yes. And I could see tremendous positives with it, but I can also already recognize, being an administrator, where the negatives are gonna be. One of those things with facial recognition, if we deploy it, and I think the technology is there to do it with our in-car cameras or our body-worn cameras, and you're walking around and you're at Walmart. Everyone goes to Walmart. You're at Walmart and the officers at Walmart's handling another situation, and the body camera is picking up different faces, and then boom, it pops up, and it's Christmas Eve, and it pops up, hey, he has a active warrant, right? That didn't get taken care of, and we go make that arrest, and it was a system error. Now we've taken him to jail based off of, maybe a system error or something like that. But it's instantaneous. Hey, he has a warrant. He has a warrant. He has a warrant. So I could see where citizens might say, that's an invasion of privacy to some degree.
But at the same time, that is something that technology has to continue to become, I guess, more perfected in, as if that's a...
Yes. And one of the things, North Carolina is not a stop and ID state. So we'd have some issues with that.
That's right.
So
I hadn't thought about it, because you have to have a reason, some rationale, some suspicion, some possible probable cause to even stop a vehicle.
Correct.
I mean, there's got to be a light out, or there's got to be over the speed limit, and it's got to fit a certain norm
to be able to make that investigatory stop. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think the technology is here, and I think it's capable, but how it's deployed is going to be interesting to the citizens of North Carolina, with that, being that we're not a stop and ID state, but you're in a public place, and that body camera is able to, recognize your face and immediately identify you. And
wow. And listen, there's so many things I want to try to get to. We're coming up on a break, and we've got we only got one more second.
Yes, sir.
So I've got just thousands of things I want to talk about, but I'm enjoying this discussion because it's really bringing to light, Adrian, a lot of things that I think people talk about or they discuss over a cup of coffee, but they don't have somebody like you sitting there that has done this for all these years, that has the expertise you got in law enforcement, that has the expertise on the street to talk about. So when we take this break, I want to come back and kind of zero in on some things that I guess maybe even in technology, but more focuses on problematic issues. And I'll call it this: challenges as an administrator.
Yes, sir.
In law enforcement that you see going forward in 2025. And I'm going to kind of use that as a teaser. And again, just so folks will know, you've been with this department long enough, and you've worked in this particular agency long enough. When it comes to face recognition and identity, you probably know the majority of the folks in the area. You understand what, quote, we do. If my phone number shows up on your phone, you probably hear forward and say, oh my God, he wants me to get on the show again. But you start developing that profile of understanding what people do. Would that be a correct assumption? We've got about 10 seconds here.
Yes, sir. That definitely is a correct assumption. One of the good things about, I guess smaller town policing is the fact that, you know, I do know everyone. You know, I know them. I know their children. I know their mothers and fathers. So that's a really good, a positive. I try to look at the positive of it.
Well, that's exactly when we come back. We'll start with that, looking at some of the things that you're going to face, some of the things that you have to deal with even before your officers see it, so you can make sure that it penetrates there.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Assistant Police Chief, City of Clinton, Adrian Mathews. You're going to want to hear the last part of the show.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
He forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
At the Reedy Mark, we take pride in a unique, distinguished customer experience. We specialize in handcrafted cocktails, allocated bourbons, as well as gourmet signature food items exclusive to our menu at the Reedy Mark in Roseboro.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know's on there. I want to thank you for being with us today. My name is JW Simmons, your host. I appreciate your comments when you see me in the public. I appreciate your suggestions about potential guests or subjects we need to bring attention to. Also, want to encourage you to continue to email us at weshouldknowedu@gmail.com, or drop a postcard or a message to me in the post office box 1482, Clinton, North Carolina. You can address that to We Should Know, WSK, and we'll pick that up. We'll look into it and see what we can do. We continue our goal of bringing you information and education as best we can from the people that do the work, from the people that do the job. And that's what we're doing today with the Assistant to the Police Chief in the City of Clinton, Adrian Mathews. Adrian, again, thank you for taking time coming in and sitting down and just having an open conversation about your job, what your associates do, and how we should appreciate here as this month, January 9th is the day. But again, as you and I both know, we need to take a moment every day and just appreciate our law enforcement people. So we want to make sure we're doing that today. Not only the police department, the sheriff's deputies, all of those people, North Carolina Highway Patrol, all those people that interact together. The organization you used to be with some years ago, North Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles, has a law enforcement section. So there's a lot of federal, state, local agencies out there. We appreciate all of you guys. Want to circle back to what we're talking about. Some of the things that I looked at and recent information, I kept asking this question, but one article indicated that some of the challenges in 2025, and I got a cadre here, but I want to get your feeling, that law enforcement is looking at as challenges is going to include rising crime rate, budget constraints, recruitment and retention of qualified personnel, which is a big deal that we just talked about a bit earlier, community relations, evolving landscape as it relates to cyber crime. All of those is on the radar. We can't address all of those today. But from your lens, what you're seeing, what are some of the things that you see as the biggest challenges for what you and your associates do?
So I think that rising crime rate goes hand in hand with recruiting and retention, and along with budgetary constraints. Being in admin and my position currently, I get to look at the budget and different things and where you put your resources with that. It kind of all ties in together. I think that people's focus has shifted since 2020 and really understand that law enforcement is needed. Now, the hard part is going to be the recruiting and retention. Mm-hmm. The recruiting part is that we're dealing with a different generation where people, young folks are looking for the prestige of certain industries. And in my generation and the generations that came before, law enforcement was a prestigious profession. Mm-hmm. I think that we didn't lose prestige. I think we lost how young people view law enforcement and some of the prestige that's with it. And we have to speak to them a different way and let them know that this is still a prestigious job, and it's a calling, and it's an excellent profession.
And it's a highly respected job.
Yes. Now, with recruiting young people for any industry, is going to take a different way of thinking, a different mindset. When I first got into law enforcement, I was just happy to have a job. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily how the younger generations are looking at it. So the Clinton Police Department has done different things to increase not only recruitment by showing that you're not just a number in Clinton. Mm-hmm. I've worked for a state agency, mm-hmm. and I've worked for the Clinton Police Department, and the camaraderie here is, some of the best in the world. Mm-hmm. I'll put it against any agency. And whereas Fayetteville is not a bad department, it's a great department. But there's 400 something officers there. And I'm sure that the chief and the assistant chief doesn't know your child's name or birthday. Mm-hmm. Where here, you're gonna know that. You're not just gonna be Officer Smith. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be, oh, that's Brian. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the community is gonna know you as Brian. You're gonna go to the church with the community. Mm-hmm. You're gonna go to the Walmart with the community. Mm-hmm. So being able to speak to that is something that we really pride ourselves on.
That's such a good point, though. You get to know the person as a person and understand, you've been a supervisor. So if that person shows up at shift and you can look at them and say, there's something different here. Let's step over here and have a talk and find out what's going on. You recognize that. Definitely.
We're a smaller agency. And like you said about Law Enforcement Appreciation Week, LC Carr put something on for us yesterday, where they had all the kids and had paintings and different things like that. And it was really nice to see. And, I really enjoyed it. But one of the things were, officers' children go to that school. Mm-hmm. Officers' spouses work at that school. So it's a little different than just, going to, another jurisdiction schools or something like that, because you are really a part of the community, mm-hmm. In Clinton. Now, for the other part of recruiting and retention is retaining, officers. Mm-hmm. And I think we've done a great job with that too. There's only so much we can do. But we are extremely competitive in pay. I'd like to thank the city council, and the mayor and, our city manager for that. They do an excellent job with, making sure that we're highly competitive, in pay. Chief Davis has done some things and implemented some things with our take home car program that has really worked wonders, in that recruitment. And he's working on some very progressive things. I don't want to, put them out there, but, some things for officers' mental health and being able to, do some things with that, to give them, the ability to kind of decompress. So I think we do a very good job in that aspect, but we got to keep learning and keep doing, those things to not only, keep the very talented officers we have, but to recruit the best officers available. So
that strikes me as critically important, is that whole avenue of ensuring that the behavioral health, not only of the officers, but the functionality is there. And if a person is having an issue with something, it's okay to step up and say, you know, look, Sergeant, I've got this going on, or whoever is in command at the time. I mean, that's pretty strong to be able to say, look, we want to hear about that, rather than trying to cloak it and deal with it.
Well, you know, that just kind of goes along with the sign of the times and the change in societal norms. Whereas, you know, maybe in my generation and before, it was, you know, you see a lot of things, but hey, don't say nothing, just kind of get back to work. And we understand that, you know, maybe that wasn't the best approach. We're not saying that it was the wrong approach, but we're definitely open to new ideas and implementing new strategies for today's officers.
As you look at it right now, is Clinton on target now? Are you fully staffed, or are you looking new officers maybe?
So we have one open position, which should be filled very soon, mm-hmm. and then we will be fully staffed. With I don't want to speak negatively, but the long-term officer, we would love everyone to stay 30 years. Mm-hmm. But the long-term officer, I don't know if that necessarily exists anymore.
Because of the landscape.
Yes.
And that evolution occurs, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
No, you know, they stay with us for a little bit, and then maybe they want to fly planes. So they try that for a little bit, and then they maybe want to come back, and then they try that for a little bit until they find their niche, or you know.
And I think that's a generational thing too.
I believe so.
Yes, I came from that generation. You get a job, you keep it, you get a retirement, then you do what you want to do, which is what I'm doing now. But at the same time, this generation don't think that way.
No, they think differently. And you can't hold it against how they think. That's something that I've definitely worked on and thought about a lot is, hey, listen, you know, let me know how I can help you be the best person you can be, even if it's not with us. And I will say that wholeheartedly. Clinton does that. When I went to License and Theft Bureau, it was nothing but, you know, hey, we wish you the best and let me know what I can do for you. And then I had the opportunity to come back to Clinton, and I'm here now.
I got the feeling that you're here now, and I got the feeling you're going to be here for a while longer too.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
So I want to take this opportunity again to thank you for being here and sitting down and having this conversation. On break, we talked about different things. I could see us doing a regular show just on law enforcement, criminal justice. I could also see continuing to look at how we can contribute through this show to keep people informed and educated, so they'll know what to do when they see that blue light come on, or when they are approached by an officer in the public. There's always a reason. There's always a rationale. Again, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. And remember, stop for a moment and appreciate a law enforcement officer in your community and all the things they do. We'll see you again next week, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host JW Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.